Well, I'm Kevin Breene, and I'm sitting here in front of the livestock show barn at the Washington County Fair. I guess I was asked to say a few words about the fair over the years and how it's evolved and the great opportunities it's provided for not just adult people, but youth in particular. And, you know, my days of being in 4-H go way back into the early 60s, and I went to the Washington County Fair the first year back, somewhere around 1968 when it was at the Perryville Grange, and then, you know, eventually it moved from there. It went across the street to the big field, and I stayed in Perryville while they were developing this site in Richmond. And, you know, when as a young 4-H'er, a bunch of us helped when they moved over here to this fairgrounds, and it was pretty small and primitive the first couple of years and kept expanding. But you know, over the years, it's been just a tremendous experience. I was in 4-H, my sister, my brother. My brother and I were both in Future Farmers, you know, and on through as time went on, my children have all been in 4-H and FFA, and they've enjoyed the opportunities of showing livestock at the fair, as long as my brother's kids as well. Now we're down to my grandchildren, and our kids, my brother's kids and mine, have showed everything from, you know, mostly dairy cattle, but chickens and pigs and, you know, everything under the sun. And, you know, I always get nostalgic when I come here because, you know, it's been a part of my life. I haven't been as involved year-round like the members of the fair committee, but I've been the parking superintendent for the livestock campus for the last 20 years, so, you know, I am here quite a bit the week of the fair and the week before the fair. And, you know, people don't understand the amount of work it takes to put this all together and to arrange the vendors and arrange the volunteer groups that have booths and to keep everybody happy and then take care of all the exhibitors. And my father used to have a saying years ago that the fair is always the same. He said the complaints at the fair are always the same, it's the people that change. And I see that. And Dr. Fish, who's the chairman of the fair, you know, he said to me several years ago, this thing runs in cycles. And as far as for livestock, and there were years when we didn't have enough space in the barn and we had animals tied under a tent outside the barn, and then the cycle goes down and there's not so many animals and we have to stretch them out to keep the barns full. Now, you know, we're at a point where there's a lot of kids again and a lot of exhibitors, and the barns are filled right up, and, you know, everybody's packed in pretty tight. But that's good. And, you know, when I joined 4-H back in 1963 or 4, I joined the Southern Rhode Island Dairy Club, and, you know, I never would have thought that in 2023 there'd still be a very active Southern Rhode Island Dairy Club, 4-H Dairy Club, and, you know, they're a big part of the fair. My brother, who taught agriculture at Narragansett High School, he just retired last year, but he taught for 35 years, and he was an integral part. He spent a lot of time down here running FFA, Future Farmers of America activities, helping run the tractor driving contests, the landscape contests, the woodsman's contests, the showmanship contests. So it extends beyond 4-H. It's 4-H and FFA, and it's just been a good experience. And, you know, I always look back and I think of all the kids that were in 4-H and FFA, and I look at them 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, and even into my generation. And it's an organization that has really helped form their lives, and most of them have become very productive citizens. It's very few that have been in any serious trouble along the way, and it seems to carry on from generation to generation, family to family, and draws in other families. And central to it all, the big event of the year is always the Washington County Fair. And, you know, those are memories that I have, my kids have, my grandchildren will have, and tons of other people, because just so much goes on at the fair. You learn so much, and, you know, it's been a good experience all the way around. And this fair should be proud, because in all the years it's been operating, they've never really had any serious big trouble or anything of that nature. So that's a credit to all the people on the fair committee, those past and present, that worked to build something. I look at these maple trees out in the main ring here, and I remember when they were planted and they were just little skinny trees, and now they've grown up to the point where they provide quite a lot of shade to people sitting around the ring. So I don't have anything but good to say about this thing, and I will support it for as long as I can. So thank you.